Hello, this is Kendall Rooney. I'm presenting Module 4 assignment, Assessing Diverse and Exceptional Student Report. What do I see in my classroom? So when it comes to special ed or exceptional students in my classroom, I have 9 total in 4 different classes: graphic design, digital media, entrepreneurship, and business management. Graphic design and digital media are self-paced courses for the most part, where I give entire class multiple ways to learn the software and how to use a desktop computer, since they're so confined to a Chromebook for the educational system. In entrepreneurship, we have heavy lecture and notes, some smaller projects and lots of group discussions, along with a larger project at the end of the semester, which we'll discuss a little bit later. Business management, again, heavy in lecture and notes, smaller projects, and again, a lot of group discussions. Support with diverse and exceptional learners. In my opinion, we have an exceptional SPED staff at our district, especially in our high school. They've all been there either at our school or in SPED education for 20 plus years, and have a very diverse background in the type of students that they've worked with and the kind of students they worked with in the past. So their knowledge runs deep and is very well regarded. Anytime we get new students, or if we're having problems with current students and need to go back and kind of go to the drawing board and figure out how we can help with those students and figure out new and exciting ways to help keep them learning and wanting to learn. I do feel like I've heard from several other people in education that pairs are way underappreciated and, even more importantly, way underpaid. We've got to figure out a way to get that better. We got to figure out how to, first of all, find right pairs, train those pairs, keep those pairs up to date on things, and feel like they're more part of the staff than just an extra in a classroom. And I think if we can figure out a way to do that, it's definitely going to help. I continue to try to learn about 504s and IEPs as much as I can. Again, we have an exceptional group, I think, of as far as if you're willing to go ask them questions, they're willing to sit down and talk with you. And they also send out updates and schedule meetings with us at least once a month to discuss any issues we're having, or give us some updates or some new tips and tricks on how to handle certain students or manage certain situations in our classrooms. I continue to work with that group and try to add more tools to my toolbox to make me a better educator and a more understanding educator. I think is the key piece to that, to help me understand that, the difference between accommodations and modifications, how some might work with some students and may not work with other students. I relate a lot of it to my coaching experience, that you can't necessarily coach everybody on a team the same way, because they all have different learning styles, abilities, and what they want out of the sport itself. So I believe it helps me quite a bit in the classroom, being able to understand different students and getting them to hopefully communicate with me so that we can help each other along this. And we also have a teacher in our district who earned their master's, or a second master's, I believe, in gifted learning. And he does a great job with our entire district helping students who are kind of the exceptions to a lot of the norms, and who are highly educated or different thought processes in certain ways and things, that we can challenge them in the classroom so that they're not bored and act out also. He has a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience also, which helps us. Assessments in my classes. Taste anxiety is for real. I have it myself. I've always had it. My daughter has it. She's a junior in high school. It's just, no matter how much I prepare, and I used to think it's because I didn't prepare for a test, but it's not that. Even when I feel like I've prepared as much as I can and have done everything I can, I still get test anxiety. So I've had coping mechanisms that I've used over the years. Try to teach my daughter some of those, and continue to work with other educators to see if they've found ways to help myself and my students also. And teaching business classes, especially coming from the corporate world for 25 years, I tell my students, look, I'm not trying to get you to memorize the notes, take a test, and forget about it like they do a lot of their classes. a lot of the things we do, especially in consumer finance, entrepreneurship, management, communication skills, these are skills that are going to help you no matter what you want to do. If you go to a trade school, if you go to a 4-year school, if you get your master's, if you get an AA, the things I'm teaching them, and I'm hoping they can use on an everyday basis. Some of the modifications I've used in the past on my current assessments is allow more time to complete the test outside of normal class time, separate setting or a quiet place. I reduce the number of questions, and also on certain multiple choice questions, I will reduce the number of options for certain students if that's going to help them and do the right thing for each different student. Sometimes you have to do all 4 of those. Sometimes you can do 1 or 2, and sometimes there's some that you have to do that are out of the norm that work for that student. And if it makes sense for them and makes sense for myself, then I'm more than willing to try to help them out. Assessments again in my classroom. Assessing and grading students must be flexible and adaptable as instructing. Just like a one-size-fits-all approach does not work for instruction, the same goes for student evaluations. I completely agree with that. I think the one-size-fits-all in the education system is, in my opinion, never been right, nor will it be right. Just like trying to use the word fair for kids who get accommodations or modifications. It was like, well, that's not fair. To me, fair is a 4-letter word and shouldn't be used in education or everyday life or anything else. It needs to be done because it's the right thing to do to help that student benefit from the education that we're trying to provide them. Again, I try to take as much as the content sometimes that I'm presenting, maybe for lack of a better term, kind of over the student's head, because simply they don't know what they don't know. Most of these kids out where we live in a small town have had a job either working for their family on a farm or working for a friend or a neighbor in town at a small business. Some of them though have never had a job or never had a need for a job. So I really try to tie a real world circumstance for them that they can relate to the information and the content and experience I have, and try to help them put that together so that they can click in their head. And another way I try to do that is I don't want them to just memorize everything up on the board and write all that information down and make it word for word on a test. I tell them, look, put it in your words, and as long as it makes sense and I can see where you're coming from, especially on a short answer on the test, I have no problem with that. I'd rather you do that than just memorize and put it back down and not really understand the content or how you can put this into your everyday life. Most of the assessments I do now are true, false, multiple choice, and short answer. I really like the short answer because, again, it gets me a better understanding as an educator to where the students really understand. Anybody can memorize words and spit them back at you, but if I tie those words into situations that we've talked about or kind of next level questions on a test, it helps me understand, did I present the material properly to them and did they understand it? So I'm evolving with assessments. I'm trying to go more towards project-based learning module in most, or strategy in most of my classes, and even getting to the concept of, if I could do a final project instead of a final test, and see, so that the students can really put the content presented to them in an actual real life example, or something very similar to a real life example, so that I know they actually grasp the concepts that we try to present them in class. Being able to answer a test or study for a test and like that, I think they're still gonna have to prepare and study, obviously, but it's something I'm really trying to get my head around and ask my current fellow teachers and other people to see if it's doable and how much work it's going to be. But I think it's going to be worth it no matter what kind of work that's going to take on my part. One of the videos, students are more than a score. Assessments offer one insight into learning, but not only the only one. Excuse me. I 100% agree. I agreed to this before I was a teacher. Anytime my kids would bring home grades, no matter what they would be, obviously in our household expectations are for A's and B's. But I wanted to know more about how they interacted in class. Are they acting up? Are they being respectful? Are they doing the right thing? Are they helping out other people? To me, that's more important than just the grade itself. And we just had our fall parent-teacher conference, and I had more and more teachers printing out their grades for their kids and bringing them in, which is awesome. But also letting me know, hey, how's Johnny or Beth or Grady or Brady, or how are they doing in class? Are they interacting well? Are they socially accepting other people, and are they listening and paying attention and taking notes and doing the right things? Which I think is a great curve to a lot of people, and I know some of it has to do with the social and emotional learning that we're going through with a lot of students also, and helping them out and making sure that they are being able to do the right things and being helped to do the right things. Some accommodations I've tried for graphic design and digital media is allow more time for the project, preferred seating so that I can get to them a little quicker and easier, and they can also understand instruction when I do present it. Continued check-ins to every student to ensure they understand everything I presented to them, and allowing for breaks while they're working on the projects itself. In business classes, I allow, again, more time to complete a project when we do those. I provide diverse instructions in multiple ways, a lot of videos and also PDFs, some PowerPoints, just so students who learn in different ways and understand. Some people want to watch video and listen to that. Some people would rather read it and take the time and flow through it. I try to provide as many options as I can for my students. I try to pare down a project to make it a more manageable level. Instead of giving 10 PowerPoint slides with 15 questions, I might make it 5 slides with 8 questions, but still get the content wrapped in there. I chunk up a lot of things. Chunking works for me, working on my homework or working in the workforce. I can't sit down there for 4 or 5 hours and knock out a project. I need to do 45 minutes to an hour at a time, and I really see that helps my students, especially on days when we do heavy notes or if there's big projects. I give them time and say, all right, hey, let's take a phone break, or, let's walk around the hallway and come back, as long as, in a professional manner and not going crazy out in the hallways. And also do with some writing assignments, accept bullet points or outline formats instead of paragraphs. As long as the content is the same content as expected, I feel like I'm doing a good accommodation for those students, and it's worked out well so far. Modifications, key is change. Graphic design, digital media. I reduce the number of piece projects. So some of the projects I have students do 3 to 5 of different pictures. What I'll do is reduce that down to 1 or maybe 2, depending on the time frame. Other business classes, I'll ask for bullet points again, fewer asked questions, reduce the number of options on multiple choice questions, and those are starting to help also. I thought this was another great quote from Teaching Beyond the Textbook video. There are many educators that believe special education students can't achieve what other students can. Those students can achieve the same thing, if not more than the other students. The teacher has to build a relationship and empower those students. I'm one of those educators who originally didn't think some of those students could make it in my class, but it challenged me to become a better teacher and a more open-minded teacher, to understand that they just want to be treated like everybody else, and they just want an opportunity, a chance to try some of these other classes, especially electives. And you never know, they may be able to overcome some of the learning disabilities that they have now and outgrow them, and become very successful in the business world. And if I can help with that, I'd love to be able to do something like that. The reality of it is, creating differentiated lessons, it's a lot of work, but it's the right thing to do. And I'm learning that more and more, and I'm doing my best to get caught up with that in each one of my classes. I teach 7 different classes, so it's hard, but I'm starting to get the hang of being able to move some piece parts from each class and kind of get a rubric for myself, if you will, to understand how to do things for certain students. And it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all. I need to continue to be patient and learn. And again, it's not fair. It's doing what's right by each student itself. Too many students come up to me and say, when am I ever going to use this in life? And I ask them, what are you doing after high school? They say they don't know. Then I ask them, how do you know what you need to know if you don't know what you're going to do? Usually that catches them off guard a little bit and makes them start thinking, which is what I really want them to do, is think about the process that they're talking about. If they don't know what they're going to do, they don't know if they need math or not. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed my presentation. Hope you all have a great one, and look forward to working with you guys in the future. Thanks. Bye.